G'day, I'm Derek Fildebrand, publisher of the Western Standard. We're coming to you live right now for a special interview with federal Conservative MP for Calgary Nose Hill, I think it is, the Honourable Michelle Rempel-Garner, coming to us from what she describes as her hostage cave on Parliament Hill. Thank you for joining us from the Pashtun region.
Well, it is a very small little cubbyhole in the back corner of the House of Commons here, but happy to talk to you today, Derek.
Yeah. Well, it's what a time. We know what happened yesterday. I guess we don't need to relitigate what everybody already knows. But I want your sense. I guess we'll use the lingo of 2024. What are the vibes? I guess we'll start with maybe on the Conservative side right now, but also in the Liberal and maybe even some of the other caucuses that you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think it's really important for people, and I say this with all seriousness, to understand the gravity of what happened yesterday. There was nobody in charge of the country, and I'm not even sure who is today. I mean, the Liberal government has had so many cabinet ministers resign. We didn't even have a finance minister in Canada yesterday. So, you know, at a time, Derek, when there's so many serious crises facing the country, right? And Canada is in very uncertain geopolitical waters. There needs to be somebody in charge. And, you know, at best, you've got right now a handful of unelected political staff managing from crisis to political crisis, as opposed to dealing with things like affordability, a potential tariff war with the United States, crime waves. And so, you know, you talk about vibes. I kind of hate that word because Chrystia Freeland used it to describe the economy. You know, and we can talk about her in a minute too, but I like it. People should be, I don't care how people vote, they should be abjectly concerned with the state of affairs that the Liberal government and frankly their dance partners in the NDP have presented Canadians with. We need an election right now.
All right, but you know, you live in fairly close proximity with other members of Parliament. I know there's a lot less cross-party fraternization now, federally and provincially, than there was in previous eras. But you see these guys. You know, what do you think the mood is over on the other side of the house?
Well, just looking at some of the coverage, for example, of Liberals coming out of their caucus meeting last night, the fact that some of them were coming out in la la land, kind of going like, yep, everything's fine, it's okay. I think it just speaks to the level of delusion that has permeated both that caucus and frankly the NDP. Like they honestly, and I'm not making this up, like they honestly think that everything, there's some of them that think everything is okay. And that's part of the problem, right? Like the people in their communities need to disabuse them of this knowledge by confronting them with the reality in which they are living. And so I guess that's like, you know, that's what I would say is even talking one-on-one to people, they will not admit that there is a problem. And that is why a lot of these people need to be confronted with this reality in a general election. It is very clear that the Liberal government does not have the capacity to govern the country. And Canadians need to have be presented with options. Obviously, I would like to see a strong Conservative government to address our priorities that we have set for the country, which are far better than what the Liberals are doing right now. But the Liberals do not have a mandate. They do not have a mandate to govern the country at a time of crisis. So that is why we need an election.
So I want to circle back to NDP that you mentioned. They're in a very awkward spot right now. We saw Jagmeet Singh out yesterday just debase himself, you know, saying, like, acting as if it's tough to say that Justin Trudeau should resign, which is, you know, I think a feeling held by the vast majority of Canadians at this point, although I'm not sure it's actually a good thing for him to resign. I think he should actually go into the general election and stand by what he's done. We need that election. But Jagmeet Singh saying Justin Trudeau needs to resign, and then the press gallery saying, well, does that mean you're going to make it? Like, are you going to vote non-confidence in this guy? And he says, well, all options are on the table, blah, blah, blah. And then I think, I'm not sure if it was Charlie Angus or another one of the senior...
Peter Julian, I think
Pardon?
it was.
Peter Julian.
Yes.
Peter Julian's kind of, after they peeled his fingernails off, he said, well, if Trudeau is still the prime minister...
But he didn't actually say it, though, right?
No,
he didn't.
We said,
I interrupted you. I just I'm sorry. I've got to interrupt you on this because I watched this play out too, and it was beyond crazy what happened. So you're right. So Jagmeet Singh walks out into just in the corridor behind me here and gives this press conference where he's like, Justin Trudeau has to go. Justin Trudeau has to go. And then, the inevitable microphone gets put in his face. Well, so you're going to vote, you're saying you're going to vote non-confidence in this government at the next opportunity. Well, I didn't say that. So then he has his 2IC, Peter Julian. He puts him out in the media later in the day. And he's skating around this like I have, the Rideau Canal in January, skating around, gold medal pairs skating. He did not actually say that they would vote non-confidence. He said that they would look at options or something like that at the end of February. After what? After conveniently Jagmeet Singh vests his pension, right? The word debase, I think that you used is so right. And Canadians should be outraged by this. I don't know what reality these people are living in, but they're certainly not living in the reality of my constituents who are facing crime, unaffordability, lost jobs. And we need an election. I know I sound like a broken record, but we need an election right now, more than this country has ever needed one. We need one today.
I was going to ask you about the Jagmeet Singh pension issue, but you already hit it. So the Liberals are reeling. You were talking about some Liberals coming out of the caucus meeting in La La Land, but some were not. Some seem to have been punched in the face by reality and have started to see at least a glimmer of what a majority of Canadians have seen for some time now, that this guy has just lost the moral authority to govern. Even if you're a Liberal Kool-Aid drinker, I get the sense that at least a good portion of the Liberal caucus is realizing, well, loyalty is a one-way street with this guy. There's been no one more loyal to Justin Trudeau than Chrystia Freeland. And, she's another woman dumped on the side of the road by him.
Well, she is. That's true.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I want to disabuse anyone who is watching this of the notion that Chrystia Freeland is a victim in this situation, from the perspective of that she's some miraculous, courageous hero, right? I do think that Justin Trudeau has a history of kicking women to the curb. I mean, I think that's definitely what happened with Chrystia Freeland here. But let's talk about her own actions and the moment in which she found courage, right? So this is a woman who has gleefully overspent Canada's budget. She's been the most ardent cheerleader of Justin Trudeau's terrible policies for the entirety of his government. She has never once spoken against him and Derek, as recently as a week ago, she did a press conference touting the fall economic statement, pre-positioning it with her iconic word salad. And, so she only found the courage to say something after Justin Trudeau removed her car and driver, after he fired her. And, courage only counts when you have something to lose. And she had nothing to lose. In fact, she has a pile of books to sell, right? So I don't see for Chrystia Freeland as a heroine in this situation. And so when you talk about the rest of the Liberal caucus, why are they still voting confidence in Justin Trudeau if they feel this strongly? Why are they still doing panels where they support this government's ridiculous talking points? Why are they still giving reporters ridiculous talking points on their policies? Everybody's saying oh, well, the Liberals don't have any way to, express displeasure in Justin Trudeau. That's completely baloney. They have had, any of them can march out behind me and give a press conference right now. They don't have courage. And I don't see the culture of that caucus changing with a Liberal leadership race. It's too calcified. So that's why we need an election. And, you know, I know I sound angry, but like I'm angry on behalf of my constituents that we didn't have a finance minister for the entire day yesterday when they were supposed to be presenting the budget. Absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, if Canadians think that, you know, Canada's enemies abroad aren't seeing this disorder, it's just, that's wrong. We need order, we need stability, and we need an election.
Well, speaking of our allies seeing this, I mean, there's this, I think, this weird idea sometimes in Ottawa that they don't have newspapers in Mar-a-Lago in Washington, D.C. And U.S. President-elect Donald Trump tweeted last night. I don't have the tweet in front of me here, but, you know, sticking his finger into this. I was a bit surprised to see him insert himself into a domestic issue like this, but you know, I'm sure he's got some. I'm not sure if it's just pure trolling or if he's got an angle here. I think he might have an angle, and I'm just not sure what it is. But Donald Trump sees this. It could have been taken as almost applauding her ouster because he doesn't seem to like her, but I don't think he likes who he calls Governor Justin Trudeau as well. What do you make? What's your reaction to Donald Trump's tweet last night?
I mean, Justin Trudeau's government can't be trusted to manage this issue. They can't. They've proven themselves incompetent. So I'm really glad you brought this up because people will be asking, like, okay, well, what are you guys doing about it? So moments ago, we actually, as the Conservative Party, we launched a motion, and I want to get this right. We're calling for the International Trade Committee to hold hearings beginning the week of January 6th through the 20th, so that we can have ministers, other officials in front of our committee so that we can actually hold the government to account, the non-existing, non-functioning Liberal government, that we can at least hold officials to account to start understanding how we're going to deal with this issue. You know, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre was out in the media this week, and you know, I think there's a couple of points that really resonated for me that he made. First of all, that some of the things that are being discussed in this dispute are things that Justin Trudeau should have been doing for Canada anyways, right? Regardless of Donald Trump. For example, fixing Canada's porous border, the hashtag Welcome to Canada border that Justin Trudeau put forward in 2017, our broken immigration system, the fentanyl crisis. These are things that Justin Trudeau should have been doing a long time ago. It shouldn't have taken Donald Trump to say this. But now, you know, given the chaos that's in the Liberal government, we are putting forward a motion. It's happening right now, so I'll probably have to hop off and debate it in the House of Commons to at least get these trade committee meetings happening in the House in January, so that Canada can be in a position to address these issues when clearly the government is not.
So as soon as you hear the bells ringing or whatever signal, the bat signal that you have to go vote,
yes,
you could hop off just so everyone knows you are there. You're standing by to vote. So that when this ends, it's going to end quickly. Some might say that of the government as well, but which is an excellent segue. I like to think to what are the chances that Trudeau falls here? The Liberal caucus declined to empower itself after the last election by giving itself the powers of the Reform Act. The Conservative caucus did give itself those powers and used them very swiftly when the crisis rose over Erin O'Toole's leadership. So to make that leadership dispute fairly bloodless. But you know, the Reform Act only codifies in law the constitutional powers that MPs already have. I've seen, you know, talking heads on the CBC say, well, there is no actual way to remove Justin Trudeau. That's just not true. Prime ministers have been removed for hundreds of years in Canada and Britain, and premiers have been removed in Canada and Britain long before the Reform Act. It's just merely enshrining powers formally, making it maybe perhaps a bit more orderly. What are the at some point, maybe Justin Trudeau says, screw it, like I'm done. There's just no good path forward here. What are the chances that that Justin Trudeau, I guess it's December, takes a walk in the snow?
Well, I laugh because like you're asking me to get into Justin Trudeau's head, which is not a place that I don't think anyone wants to be. But I'll just start my analysis of this by saying we need an election. Like there's nobody in the Liberal Party. Like we can't allow unelected Liberal backbenchers or backroomers to choose the next prime minister by, you know, doing something like proroguing parliament and going to a Liberal leadership race, which is what I'm sure a lot of Liberal partisan insiders want to happen, right? But that's not, this is a minority parliament. The parliament is in disarray due to the Liberal government disrespecting parliament. I don't think that they have the confidence of parliament anymore. So allowing that prorogation for a Liberal leadership race, that's not, we need an election. So I'll preface everything by saying that. But as for Justin Trudeau, you bring a good point. The Liberal Party effectively neutered itself. It does not have a mechanism, neither in the Reform Act that you mentioned, so within its own caucus, or within its party governance to remove a leader. Like the Conservative Party has it both ways. We have a mechanism in our Constitution and in the Reform Act. The Liberal parties, they all willingly did this. They willingly neutered themselves with by taking away these mechanisms. So Justin Trudeau, it's really up to him, right? He could, you know, and you're dealing with a narcissist who has no capacity to put
but they
his
still have
ego
the
aside.
constitutional power.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, right now, the Liberal,
if they signed a petition and they had a majority of the governing Liberal caucus that signed a petition, and they had an appointed successor and went over to the Governor General.
yeah, but I find this moot, Derek, because like at the end of the day, like, okay, could they try and do something? Maybe it'll take them a couple of months to muster up the courage to do this. How much more crisis are we going to have in the next 2 months? Like for somebody who's watching this and saying, I can't buy groceries, or I'm putting milk on my credit card, or I just lost my condo. They don't want to, they don't want to hear about this. They want an election and to move on. And just to underscore this, Derek, like if these guys were going to do anything that resembled courage, they would have done it a long time ago, right? To your point, there's nothing stopping the guys that are in the room next to me, essentially, from saying, hey, you know what? There's 20 of us. We're going to go sit as an independent caucus, which has happened in the Conservative Party's history before. And we're going to take a decision by decision basis on confidence motions until X, Y, or Z happens. Have they done that? No, because these are people without courage that are the only calculus they're doing right now is like, am I still going to be able to get a cabinet spot in this failed Liberal government? Like literally that calculus is happening. Or is my nomination going to get greenlit by this failed leader? So like, I don't know.
Vest, yeah.
So it is a rant because it should be a rant, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay, but I guess the question is, would they? I don't think they will. They've had, I mean, all of the windows of opportunity where they would have had enough time to do this have passed. There really isn't enough time, but they could prorogue. They could do it. The only thing I can see that would force a quick, not necessarily resignation of Trudeau, but at least trigger the leadership race to replace him, would be the threat of mass resignation of his cabinet.
Maybe. This guy's a narcissist, Derek. He doesn't care about anyone. Do you think he cares about his cabinet? Right? And he has a bunch of other willing numpties in his caucus that are more than willing to take these positions, right? Like, and I mean, it's basically Katie Telford that's running the government in quotations right now anyways. And I know this sounds so banal, but at the end of the day, that's the reality. And it's why we need an election. And again, I'm pushing back a little bit because there's been so many pundits and so many people talking about like, oh, well, you know, the Liberal caucus could do this to have him resign, or he should resign. We need an election. The entire party has lost the moral authority to govern.
So the Bloc Québécois has been very clear now. They're not trading. It's a weird day when the Bloc Québécois is willing to stand more solidly for the interests of Canada than the NDP. But the NDP, as we were talking about with Jagmeet Singh, Peter Julian, you have to peel their nails off to get even a half answer from these guys right now. And it's obviously their decision how they're going to vote. You can't force them to. But, you know, we see daily, and it's ramped up now to fever pitch, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative caucus shaming them, making them eat it every day. What else can you guys do to bring the NDP to pull the trigger and put this dog down?
I think it's going to be what Canadians are going to do. Like, you know, we are going into the holiday season. There's going to be a lot of people sitting around with friends talking about this situation. And I think actually, you know, especially if recent polling numbers are to be believed, absolute frustration with both the NDP and the Liberals is like a unifying thread across the country right now, right? I think it's a situation where there will be political pressure from communities put on these guys as they go back to their constituencies for the holiday recess, and as they should be. So, you know, obviously conservatives, like we're going to continue to do the things like we have been doing, confidence motions, hearings, et cetera, at every turn. At the end of the day, this is, you know, us partnering with the people of Canada who I think are speaking up and, you know, getting to the point of an election. That's what we need.
Well, I'm going to be respectful of your time. So rather than us get cut off by the bell, I'll just leave the last word to you. Anything we didn't cover that you want to mention before we let you go?
No, I just want to, you know, put a little plug in and say thanks for covering Western Canadian issues, Derek. I think that, or covering Ottawa politics from a Western Canadian perspective. We don't see a lot of people from Western Canada in the press gallery out here, and it's really important for independent media to be covering these issues. And I just want to thank you and your team for doing that.
Oh, thank you very much. Michelle Repple-Garner, thank you very much for joining us from your bomb shelter there on Parliament Hill.
I'll get back in the house now.
Get back in the house and keep doing your thing. Thank you very much for joining us.